Have you ever wanted to play Call of Duty like the pros? Have you ever wanted to play Battlefield and just beast it? Well, normally you're going to need a modded controller like a Scuff, a Battle Beaver, or a Shark. But those alternatives are way too expensive. They're out of your budget. So if you're looking for a budget modded controller, this is the video for you today. Hey guys, this is SpockJoe, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Emio Elite Controller for the PlayStation 4. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And with no further ado, let's get started. So, what is the Elite PS4 controller from Emio? Well, it is simply this. It is a entry-level modded controller for people that are trying to get a modded controller on a budget. Now, I want to say up front, the Xbox One Elite controller and the PS4 Elite controller are two different beasts. And in a second, I'm going to show you guys side by side how they kind of match up. But I want to say this. They are not equals. One is definitely better than the other, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So, as I'm unboxing this, just a few things that I noticed. When you pull it out, the controller is actually in a kind of a cheap plastic molding. It does have felt on it, so that it won't allow you the controller to be all scuffed up and everything. But it does have your joysticks right here. It has a D-pad disc as well, and your paddles right here. And it has these little plastic, little spongy things that you can put on your joysticks as well. So a few of the things that I really liked about this controller is, one, this is an entry-level modded controller. This is going to be a controller that will help you out with games that are FPS games like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Titanfall 2, where you don't want to constantly take your thumb off of your right joystick to always try to jump or do stuff like that. You can actually take and use the paddles on the back to use those buttons to do the jumping and so on and so forth, so you can keep your thumb on the analog stick. The second thing that I like is this controller does have trigger stops, and that's really cool because on most controllers you're going to have to, they don't have trigger stops, so you have to push down all the way, and some games you won't be able to fire your weapon as quickly, especially with FPSs. And so the trigger stops actually makes it to where the trigger doesn't go as far, and you can actually rapidly tap that trigger and potentially use like different types of semi-automatic weapons and stuff like that, and it will be beneficial to you. Third of all, I really like the fact that this controller, you can swap out the accessories from your Elite controller from your Xbox One. You can take off the D-pad and replace it and put on the other D-pad. So if you lose one and you have an Xbox One controller, you can kind of swap these different components and stuff like that. That to me is kind of cool. I'm not sure exactly who was commissioned by Xbox One Elite controller, but I will say that a lot of the components are almost exactly the same. So there's a few things that I didn't like about it. And first off, it seems very cheaply made. And what I mean by that is it's just very plasticky. There's not a lot of metal components to it. The weight of it seems a little lighter than the Elite from the Xbox One controller, but it is doable. It's not a bad controller in that sense. They're probably just trying to budget money and try to make it as cost efficient for the consumer as possible. Second thing that I didn't like about this controller was the joysticks seem very, very tight. It reminded me of the Xbox 360 controller, how they responded and how they felt in the hand. If you like that controller, maybe this is a controller that you would prefer to have. Now, when it comes to the joystick sensitivity, I found that the sensitivity when I was playing games with this was very, very weak. Meaning on a regular PS4 controller, I could barely move the joystick and it's already moving, my character's moving, it's already picking up the stick movement. Versus this one, it seems like you have to push the joystick a little bit further for it to actually start to register for your character to move in whatever direction and so on and so forth. So just a little heads up there. One thing that I would say is if you're playing FPS games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, you might want to dumb down your sensitivity because of the way that the sensitivity on these joysticks are. If you push too far, it's going to just shoot your character in any one direction, and it might be a little bit frustrating. But what I found is when I took down my sensitivity just a little bit, this controllable became very, very usable. The last thing that I didn't like about this controller is it doesn't seem like you can remap the paddles on the back. You're pretty much stuck with its configuration, the way that it was built, and for some, that may hinder them in how they would normally play. Alright, so is this a good controller or not? Well, I would say this. For the money, it's a decent controller. It is about $80 US. But as I would say with all controllers, you get what you pay for. It is not going to be a $200 Scuff or $100 and $200 Battle Beaver, but for people that are on a budget, this might be the best option for you. And in the end, I really didn't find this controller to be completely a bad controller when it came to the sensitivity. I just found that when I dumbed down my sensitivity, it was easier to use this controller. So with that said, if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.